My name is James. So lucky to see you. Today I want to talk about building on your mistakes and avoiding repetitions. A lot of us we make same mistakes every time, and then you know that mistakes are not a very terrible thing. They asked the man Thomas Edison when he was working on the light bulb. He tried about 9,996 times, and he failed several times, and until he succeeded. They asked him, that you failed over 9,000 times. He said, I never failed. I only learned 9,000 ways, about 9,000 ways how electric bulb will not work. So many times you failed on some things or in the past, in your marriage, in one thing or the other, in your business, in your career. You have only learned how it will not work. You are working on an idea, you failed many times. It's not a strange thing. You have only learned many ways how it will not work. But the most important thing is that you must not allow your mistakes to repeat itself. You must not allow your mistakes to affect your future. Because mistakes are products of our choices. Mistakes are products of our choices. So mistakes are product of our choice. The choice we make today are what determines. Mistakes are not just a strange thing. Mistakes, what we call mistakes are products of the choices we make. And one thing I always say is that choices are so powerful. You have the power to make a choice, but you don't have the power over the consequences. You can make a certain choice in your life, but you don't have power over the consequences. So the wrong choices you made led to the mistakes that came up on board with you. Like a local parlance, they will say when a child falls, he looks at the front, he runs ahead. But when an adult falls down, he looks at the back. What fell me down? And he's going to look at it and before he goes ahead. So have you looked at the back and see the choices you made in the past that are led to where you are today? How are you ready to correct them? How are you going to build on them going to the future? How are you ready to make the right choices going to the future? So that's what we want to really look at, because consequences are things you don't have control over. You don't have control over the consequences, but you have control over the choices you make. So if you're going to reflect and meditate and internalize over the mistakes, the choices you have made in the past that led to certain mistakes you have made, you can begin to look at the future and discover that you don't want to make them again. You don't want to get it wrong any longer, because choices are product of our ideologies. If you have some certain defunct ideology that are provoking or inform your choices, so you have to work on those ideologies that inform your choices, because your choices you make reflect either mistake or the right choice. So you either make a right choice or make mistakes. So you need to understand that your ideologies that have been imbibed in you, or they begin to reflect in your choices. So we have to look at some ideologies that have affected some aspect of our lives. So the first one I want to talk about here is that sometimes you have ideology that places others above yourself or your family. So when you have these ideas that places others above, the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself, not above yourself. So sometimes when you have ideologies that place others above yourself or others above your family, you see that you are going to be sacrificing your family needs or your personal needs to helping others. All in the name of helping others, you begin to suffer yourself or suffer your family. Just like Pastor Samadiyemi will say. He was talking about the Lord spoke to him and saying, you have been trying to become an El Shaddai, and you're going to lead to Ashaddai. So in place of trying to help others, you are talking yourself to you an El Shaddai. So don't sacrifice your family need or your personal need for others. Yes, it's going to love others and yourself. Help people. Try and be a blessing to them, to the best of to the best that you can help them. But don't let it be to the detriment of your family or detriment of yourself. Another thing we need to learn that is that fantasy above reality. Sometimes we have so much ideology that places fantasy above the reality. Sometimes we are so much addicted to fantasies. We are so much attracted to fantasy. Some propositions that are placed before us, some steps we want to take. We are not taking our time to deeply think or have a deep thought about this very step we want to take. But you're just so fantasizing about the benefit, about the profit ahead of it. That's why a lot of people are easily duped. That's why a lot of people are falling into several 419s and several dupers, because they celebrate fantasy. They celebrate the knowledge in their head above the reality of the transaction. So you have to look at fantasy. Don't be carried away with the fantasy. Take a deep due diligence to ensure you know about what you want to do. You see it through to the end, and before you get into it. Another thing, number 3, is that impulsiveness or emotional above rational. Impulsiveness or emotional above rational. Don't be so impulsive. Impulsive means just behaving, responding without thinking, doing something without thinking. That's an or emotional, which almost the same thing. So you're just so emotional, you're so carried away. So don't be emotional about your response. Don't be emotional about what you want to do. Don't be impulsive. Don't just be spontaneous. It's going to be spontaneous, but don't be a negative spontaneity. So you have to allow rationale. Think about it very well. That step you want to take, think about it very well. That husband you want to leave, think about it very well. That wife you want to kick away, think about it very well. That step you want to take, that resignation letter you want to write, think about it. Don't be impulsive about it. Impulsiveness are meant for youth, are meant for young people. And emotional for women. So even as a woman, you have to begin to rationalize. A lot of women have left their husband today. After a long while, they begin to regret that same step they took in their life that devastated every core of their lives. So you need to become more rational than just being impulsive. Don't just respond to things because you just want to show. You want to just show other people. You want to just impress others. Don't just impress other people. Try to be rational with what you want to do. Another one is a violence response above dialogue or peaceful approach. Violence. Don't be so violent. It's an ideology. Some people, they carry such ideology. Every resolution to them is a violent resolution. Everything to them is a violent resolution. That's not adhering to principles. Principles has to teach us about forgiveness, about peace. You have to pursue peace more than you pursue violence. You and your wife, you are talking, just the next thing you do is a slap. You and your wife, you are talking, just the next thing is you're talking to me like that is a slap. Let's celebrate peace, peaceful approach or dialogue. You say your wife must not do a thing and she did it. Just reason with her. Why did she do it? Find a way to correct her. Come to a middle ground where you can correct her. Don't just respond through violence at all time. And it's not even good. As a manager of the company, don't be responding to violence towards